Something that really interested me about this movie was its title. I know that you've sort of talked about that a little bit as being mysterious on purpose, but I was wondering what you could say about the process of naming this movie. And if you can't say anything, sort of like the reason behind the mystique for it.
Um, I think it's an intriguing title. I like the idea that when the movie's over, it could inspire a debate as to what it's referencing. There's been a lot of theories online that of how I probably landed on it. None of them are especially accurate. Truth be told, I had to name the document something when I saved it the first time. I was writing the script and I had to write something to save it, or it was going to be called Untitled Screenplay. And so I wrote Barbarian, and then I got attached to it. And then the more I wrote, the more maybe the movie just kind of wrapped itself around that title. And I'm really happy with it. I think it's the right title for the movie, but it is mysterious. I admit it.
What I wanted to say was so much of this movie is really unexpected. That feels like the best word I can come up with. And one of the most unexpected things about it for me was, thematically speaking, a lot of this movie is shedding light on a lot of feminist issues and a lot of things, and I think it does it in a really beautiful way. And I was just wondering, reading the script, because it is in there, is that something that impacted your performance or something that was discussed on set, or how did you go about kind of navigating that?
It was so interesting. The first time I read the script, I just was like amazed at the story itself. I just thought it was fantastic and all those twists and turns. And I was entertained reading it. It was like a breath of fresh air. You know, you get sent so many scripts, and it's very rare that you get these scripts that like you just can't stop thinking about. And then the thematic questions of it, to be honest, I didn't necessarily get it all the first time I watched it. I mean, I read it because so much is happening. And then I spoke to Zach, and he really kind of broke everything down to me. And, you know, there's different timelines, there's different things going on that all kind of connect. And he gave me a book that was about fear, and it was about women's instincts and kind of all these stories of women that have been through kind of traumatic situations and then look back on it and go, you know, there was actually this moment or there was this moment, and I just kind of forgot about it or didn't worry about it because it didn't seem like a big deal at the time. So that was really interesting, and he just, you know, wrote that so beautifully. So yeah, it was great.
And you know, sort of getting into this idea that we really can't talk about a lot of this movie, and I'm happy to not, because I think this is the best kind of movie to go into it without really knowing what you're about to experience and just sort of keeping an open mind. But when you are scripting something like that, is that something that you're conscious of while you're writing? Is, oh, I hope that at this point in the movie, people are fully surprised? Like, what is the reaction you're hoping to get?
I was surprised. So I didn't beat this movie out. I didn't outline it. I just started writing it. So I was discovering it as I was going. So I didn't know what was down under the house until it happened. I didn't know. So I was just as surprised, I guess you could say, as anyone. So that was my rule for writing, is like, if I don't know what's going to happen, there's no way the audience could know. And so I just kept that spirit throughout the whole process.
Was it also sort of a surprise for you that you ended up making a horror film, or is this something that you've been wanting to do for a while and then it just kind of like finally happened?
It wasn't like something I always wanted to do, but I just kind of follow the inspiration when it comes to me. And so, you know, I was in my garage late at night and I wanted to write something spooky, and I kind of cranked it out. And so nothing about the creation of this movie was calculated. It was all just kind of a fun exercise. It was really a joyful experience of just trying to entertain myself, and this is what came out of it. So
yeah, and I mean, that's sort of again, without giving too much away, that sort of results in your character handling what's under the house a lot better than some of the other characters in the movie. And I was also wondering, when you are on set and you see like what is under the house for the first time, and you're kind of like in the presence of that, what is that like for you as an actor on set, having to act opposite everything that's going on?
Yeah, it's hard. It's so hard to talk about without spoilers.
I know it's difficult.
And everything goes on down there.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Like, you know, the design. I guess I'll say there's, you know, kind of a creature, an entity, and it was very beautifully designed and very scary. But I mean, it's funny because when you're on set and you're acting, you know, everything's going, but then there's so much time in between where we're all sat around and, you know, and having a chat and talking about the weekend. So those moments were very surreal. Yeah, it was very strange and took some getting used to.
Yeah, I can imagine it'd be a little weird to be like sipping coffee next to what's under the house.
Yes.
Yeah, so something that sort of like took me off guard with this movie was, I mean, truthfully, thematically, I guess I wasn't expecting what was happening like throughout. It's a very feminist movie, which I loved, and in a really like beautiful way, I think that like I wasn't really expecting from a horror film. Can you sort of talk about that, like where that came from and what it was like navigating that as a director?
Yeah, I had read this book called The Gift of Fear, and it talks a lot about red flags that men can throw up that women should really pay attention to. And men don't know that they're throwing them up. So there's all these like kind of very subtle things a guy can do that are potentially threatening, like you know, doing a woman a favor that she didn't ask for, you know, or complimenting a woman's appearance when it's not appropriate, injecting sexuality into otherwise, you know, sterile conversation. All of these should be paid attention to, and women have to concern themselves with these things, and men don't. And that, when I read that book, I had this realization that, like, God, I just occupy a completely different psychic landscape than women do, and that's too bad. And so I just wanted to write a scene that really explored that, where like she has a lot of heavy lifting to do to figure out if this guy is good or bad. And then the flip side of it, when the movie changes, we follow a man who has just completely wrecked the women in his life, and he's completely oblivious to it. So I see them as two sides to the same coin.